Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, Mr. Moohead. Joining me in the in the panel today, not only the Moose but also Tony the Calf, who is chosen to join us and to bless us with his presence. And today's program is going to be very difficult for me personally because I am losing interest in the subject matter that this show covers. And it's been the more you find out, the less engaged I become. And Bronk was sent me something, and
Yeah,
I'm blaming him for the way I feel
you
here.
can blame me totally for this. I thought you would have seen this, but obviously you haven't. So
Yeah, and so I
anyway,
told Bronk that he can lead this show with this
no, you
story.
you you do your thing, and I will interject bits if you don't get it right, or if you leave something out, or
Well,
you're better at leading things.
all right. What I can say is the
But first of all, it concerns the Milwaukee Bucks
kind of
and
and
their ownership, but there's a more general moral to the entire story. That is what is the important
troubling.
aspect of it.
Shocking it involves Jimmy Haslam.
Well, and not only that, because
It's
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 not. It's,
even more general than that.
yeah, absolutely. Basically, what it amounts to is the Milwaukee Bucks have been a team that has been under the spotlight because of whether they're going to keep Giannis, whether they're going to trade Giannis, who they want for Giannis, all of that stuff. And a story came out regarding
ESPN.
on ESPN, right? As far as the ownership situation in Milwaukee, which we know that Jimmy Haslam is a 25% owner of the team, which is what we thought was the case. Okay.
Yeah.
And that guy named Edens is the 75% owner
Yeah.
of the team. And the question that has been brought up, predicated on this whole ongoing drama, as far as Giannis is concerned, it turns out that there are a lot of people who are dealing with the Milwaukee Bucks who don't know who the actual majority owner of the team is. And it is a peculiar situation in which usually, I mean, it's stated 75-25, and, maybe the
Yeah.
25% guy is going to move up and is going to eventually take over. That's what's happened with the Guardians. At least we
Yeah.
think that's what's happening with the Guardians. And I'm going to go
Yeah.
into that as well after this story. Uh, the What it amounts to is, and it's people are insisting that Jimmy Haslam is gaining strength and making decisions for the Milwaukee Bucks, posing as a 25% owner, and his cohort in crime, Edens, the other partner, that they're literally blurring the lines so that 1 minute one is the 75% owner and the next minute the other one is the 75% owner, and we can only assume that it has to do with some kind of a scam for profitability, for tax relief, or whatever the case may be with these two incredibly dishonest, disgusting human beings.
Yeah. I will. I'll help here a bit. The original ownership, uh, which included Eden's, another business named Dinan, and Lazary, and another business Lazary, bought the Bucks for 550 million in 2014,
Right.
and they had a rotating ownership style where one of the owners would be the head decision maker, and then it would rotate back to one of the other ones, and that worked for a period of time. But that ownership group fell out with each other, and then in 2024, I believe, Haslam, or 2023, Haslam was able to was able to buy one of these ownership shares. So he got in 2023 when Lasry sold his shares. So now they've made some moves. That have been blatantly unsuccessful. They gave a whole load of money to Damian Lillard.
He wrecked his Achilles.
Wrecked his Achilles. He's got like 133 million remaining on his deal.
And an old center from the Indiana
And
Pacers.
Miles Turner.
Yep.
They traded away Drew Holiday.
Yep.
And
how do you convince? And how can you be saying, well, we're really trying to surround Giannis with the best talent?
So Giannis, you know the old story that everybody should be familiar with, that if you borrow $5,000 from the bank, you're a customer and you're treated like dirt. But if you borrow 500 million from the bank, you're a fucking partner.
Right.
And that is pretty much the situation that Giannis finds himself in. But he's not a full partner. He's an underling. If you look at sports as one gigantic Ponzi scheme, which is what it apparently is these days, you have Edens and Haslam at the top of the Milwaukee Bucks. Then you have Giannis Antetokounmpo below them. Then you have the rest of the players. And then you have all the shitty fans that buy the merch and buy the NBA ticket and bet on the games. And all that money goes all the way up to the top. So the ownership, Edens and Haslam, they don't give a shit about Giannis, and they certainly don't give a shit about the fans. What they do give a shit about is having the most amount of net worth that they can possibly have out of the deal. So they've allowed other teams to contact them during the trade deadline saying, oh, we're offering Giannis. But basically all they're doing is gauging the market. They're not actually pulling the trigger, because people will talk to Eden and his representative, and the other people will talk to Haslam. And Haslam has his own GM selected from Haslam Sports Group.
Yep.
Ready to take over the decision making of the team. Now, I don't really want to leave anything out, but what they're talking about is Giannis Antetokounmpo is that when he's healthy, obviously, he's only 31 years old, and he's a first team, second team, third team All-Pro guaranteed every season when he's healthy.
Right, but this year it's put a dent. It's put a dent in that.
So the Bucks, depending on who you talk to, there's been unnamed sources said they've asked for Evan Mobley in draft picks. They've asked for VJ Edgecombe in draft picks. They've asked for the entire world in draft picks, but they've not gotten to the point where if you, the Cavs, do this, we will definitely trade Giannis. They have never said that to anybody.
Right.
They have not
well, we have a vague interest in Evan Mobley and other pieces, but we can't really quite dot the I and cross the T on any of this stuff.
Right. Now, if you really want to go see this article, it's how unique Milwaukee Bucks ownership structure impacts Giannis Antetokounmpo trade, Wes Edens, Jimmy Haslam, Mark Lasry. And it's on ESPN. It's about 4 days old now. What it also details, which I urge you to plow through and read, is what Wes Edens has done to earn his money. Now,
and let me read this, okay? Because I have this in my notes.
He's I'll do a little background on him. He was born a year and a month after me. Now, there is this whole generation of people that saw the Wall Street movie with Michael Douglas and the other Sheen, Charlie Sheen, and all these guys were Charlie Sheen's age when that movie came out, and they had a rapid rise on Wall Street. They were all gung ho, screw them, and that is how this fucker made his money. He is like he, well,
Well,
I'll
let
let
me
Mister
explain it.
Moohead go on
Yeah,
further on that
and,
because I will lose it.
there is one specific quote that we'll get to in just a minute. In
Yeah,
2015, the Wall Street Journal hailed is it Edens or Edens?
Edens. I don't know.
Yeah,
Somebody from Milwaukee will fill us in.
yeah, as
Edens.
the new king of subprime lending,
Yeah,
as his 124 million bet
bet
turned it's unbelievable, turned into 3.5 billion
billion
dollars.
dollars.
In that article, Edens described the turnaround of the company Springleaf Holdings Incorporated, a company that specialized in personal loans for individuals with subprime credit scores. And he referred to it as, quote, the biggest home run of my career.
Which is what Jimmy Haslam swings and misses on. But
Now, I mean,
okay,
here's the world that we're living in. For those who don't understand, it's literally it's like being a slumlord. I mean, you're just preying on people who the only way they could get credit is to pay an incredibly high return interest level, and that's what he considers the biggest home run of his career, is turning that $124 million investment into that company Springleaf Holdings into 3.5 billion.
I'll give some historical background with a Cleveland tinge here. Many people will remember Forest City Enterprises and the Forest City
Yes,
stores
sure.
and all that. They were owned by the Ratner family, and I don't know whether you know the Ratner family or what they got up to, Ratner, but they got their wealth from buying up land that was repossessed during the Great Depression. They bought up all this land in like what would become the south suburbs of Cleveland, and they made an absolute fortune not only from having their silly Forest City stores, but from building shopping malls and
Sure.
from building residential districts. And they were the landlord of the Cleveland white suburbs, and they made an absolute fucking fortune.
Yep.
And what Wes Edens has done is that when Epstein and Bear Stearns collapsed the subprime market in 2008, and all those derivatives went to shit. Edens went in, bought them for nothing, and just waited,
He didn't do anything.
waited, and then the market was going to go up
Yep.
because it got recovered once George W. Bush was out of office and the administration changed enough and allowed it to recover. And
Right.
he made an absolute fucking fortune. And then he got involved not only with the Milwaukee fucking Bucks, but he's involved with maybe 20 other different desperate or whatever, dispirited, I don't know, whatever the right word is, organizations around the world, stuff doing liquid natural gas in Puerto Rico. And his team of sports people run Aston Villa Football Club in the Premier League.
Yep.
How ironic is that? After Randy Lerner got out, Edens and his group and an Egyptian partner got in and bought Aston Villa, and that's their main asset in
Yep.
sports. So you've got these billionaires that have profited off of people's misery enormously, thinking they're making a home run and that they're moral people, and then they're fucking around with Giannis and they're fucking around with the fans. Now, people listening to this program, they're going to be fans of the Cleveland Browns, and they're also going to be fans of the Cleveland Cavaliers. How do you fucking feel about your owner of your football team being the owner of a rival basketball team that is trying to fuck your basketball team with a lowball trade offer for some fucking injured superstar?
Yep.
Should that even be allowed in this world? I don't think so.
Well, here's the other thing that I found interesting about Eden's. On Tuesday, just recently here, his company, which is called New Fortress Energy, had a market cap of $261 million. They announced a deal with its creditors to restructure $5.7 billion in debt in order to allow it to continue operations after the company saw its share price plummet nearly 99% in a single year and was hit with massive credit downgrades last fall. New Fortress Energy is a liquefied natural gas company that he's owned since 2014. Its share price has cratered amongst construction delays, regulatory setbacks, and a liquidity crisis from a high of $63.06 in 2022 down to 87 cents on Thursday, costing Eden's billions in shareholder value. Forbes estimates that Eden's net worth has declined by 40% from $4.3 billion in 2023 to $2.5 billion in 2025. He's ready to get out of the situation in Milwaukee because he has no knowledge to run a business. The word that was used in the beginning of this description, that his $124 million bet turned into $3.5 billion, this is what he does. It's what my father used to refer to as shooting fish in a barrel. You can't lose some situations. You hit a big, as he put it, home run by raping poor people. And then at the same time, you invest in other things and they fail.
Yeah.
And he has no ability to run a business. The reason the Milwaukee Bucks have run right into the toilet is because this guy's share value, he's looking at that. He ain't looking at the basketball team. And to be honest, the reason that Jimmy Haslam is moving up and making decisions is because he knows that Eden's ain't going to be there for long. And he's going to take over. But you see, none of these people are really businessmen. They are playing with money. It's like if you're in a poker game with a stacked deck. You only have to hit 1 out of 20 times to win big.
And you don't lose on your losses because you can write them off and not pay any taxes.
That's right.
In the fucking world. I mean, he's involved in fucking Puerto Rico, for God's sakes, with liquid natural gas. I mean, what is going on?
It is hard for me to understand where all of this puts Jimmy Haslam. I know what I felt about him for a long time, and I feel about it worse now than I ever have.
Yeah.
You know, the basketball team, the football team is just a venue. It's just an entree into more greed.
Correct.
So the Cleveland Browns, what he purchased was a team that really rushed to get back into the NFL and whose owner, Al Lerner, died and whose son was incompetent and ran away to England. And he ends up buying the team and he becomes one of 32 owners. And so that immediately, the asset has gone way up. Every year he loses worse and worse on the field. the value of the company goes up and up. Sounds familiar. It sounds like Wes Edens.
And the same thing with the NBA. The NBA, they bought it for $500 million. Well, what is Giannis making? Nearly $500 million if he signs a max contract for 5 years.
Yeah, plus all the off-the-field shit. Remember the trade deadline? How they had all these betting things, and magically, all of a sudden, Giannis is on the board for Kalshi, the betting. It's like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, Jimmy Haslam has used the ownership of the Cleveland Browns to get into a position to build a dome. All right?
Absolutely.
He's not in the football business, folks. I mean, he doesn't make any decisions that are worth a fuck. He's a stupid idiot, but he's got so much inherited money that he got from the trucking company that he ran into the toilet and got into trouble for cheating people and trying to steal from his own clients.
Yeah, but he's morally superior to some of these other people that are dealing with the NBA and NFL.
Why do you think he became the owner of the Browns? You say, why did they choose him? Now you're figuring it out, folks. I mean, it isn't just Wes Edens in the NBA. It isn't just Jimmy Haslam in the NFL. It's the New York Mets and Steve Cohen. It's happening all over. And the Guardians, which I'll talk about in a moment, are really on the very fringe of just selling out completely to another mega billionaire. And I look at this and I say, if Jimmy Haslam wants to be a realtor and he wants to grab all the land around Brook Park and he's going to own the dome and he's going to raise ticket prices and he's going to raise parking prices and he doesn't have to win. You understand? He doesn't have to put a for shit product on the field. And the reason he never goes in front of the cameras and even tries to say, we're all about making the Cleveland Browns better, because that's not what we're about. We're not trying to make the team better. We're trying to make Jimmy Haslam wealthier. That's the only point of the exercise.
Jimmy Haslam the third, Jimmy Haslam the fourth, Jimmy Haslam the fifth, Jimmy Haslam the sixth. These owners are building a family dynasty. I mean, you look at Eden's wiki. He's involved with Jeannie Buss on different ventures. He's involved with Michael Jordan on different ventures. It's just staggering. You do not realize how much power these people have. And for God's sakes, I know I'm going to bring up Jeffrey Epstein, but only in this instance. Obviously what was involved with the trafficking and the human trafficking was absolutely abhorrent. But what could be even considered worse is the financial crash that he precipitated in 2008 at Bear Stearns and with Lehman Brothers regarding derivative products and subprime mortgages that ruined hundreds of thousands of lives across the world. People lost jobs, lost their property, committed suicide. And that has never been fully investigated. There are YouTube videos out there about Epstein and his role in the 2008 financial crash. If you so dare to view them, go ahead. You'll be sick to your stomach. So that's it, man.
All right. So where we're at this point is the amount of money that people like Haslam and people like Edens and people like that are making and totally fucking up their sports businesses. And they're not selling out their stadiums. Okay. I mean, if you go out and you look at the Bucks, they're empty seats. And why shouldn't there be? Because, they had that 1 year in 2021 and that's been the whole thing. And it's got
1 year fans can go.
Yeah. And, now, the situation I'm in, I can just click through every goddamn NBA game and I can see that people aren't showing up.
Yeah, why would you spend all that money when you can watch it for $20 a month. You can watch 8 games for $20 compared to one game for 150. You know?
Now, if it were me, and I was in a situation where I was making all of this money on not the team per se, but because I owned the team and it gave me the authority to be able to just grab land and to build new buildings and to have all kinds of control over how much help I get building the new building financially. I mean, why should there ever be an empty seat in Cleveland Brown Stadium? Why? Why should there be? I mean, if you were smart, and of course nobody could mistake Jimmy Haslam as being smart, you would just give away the goddamn tickets to fill the stadium.
Yep.
And you would do something for the fans, and you would say these seats aren't selling, and you just give them away.
Right.
And that way everybody gets to see the game, and it's a rotating thing, and fans, you know, hey, your name will come up on a lottery, you'll get to go see a game. However many seats are available, that's what they make available. And you know, people, and if the people don't show up, well, then nobody gets hurt. But if they do show up, their families get to see a professional sports event. They don't have to fucking pay for it, and you get good publicity. But they won't even do that. They won't even give anything to anybody.
Exactly. I mean, and Haslam, what the point I'm trying to make and ram home here is Haslam is small fry to some of these people that he is living with. You know, he is the small fry of the billionaire owners. You know, there are people out there that can piss all over him.
Well, I mean, that's always the case. I mean, it was like when Elon Musk started dancing on the stage saying, I'm the world's richest man. And just wanted to put a, you know,
he wants to be a trillionaire.
You know? I mean, you know, it's like, come on, you know, this started as entertainment when I started this show. This started as analyzing games. I got to be honest with you. How could you even prognosticate what's going to happen when the games are fixed? Let's be honest about this.
Yeah.
The people where they change the rules midstream so that they can call anything they want to call in the last 2 minutes of a game, and they can keep the game artificially close until then and still get what they want in the end, the result. And the reason that they're doing it is because the gambling money is just flowing in, and the fans seem to be satisfied that their only role in this is to try to make money off of a bet, which is what Wes Edens did, but that the average man can't. And it's a flaw in the culture that we are living in that, you know, used to be
a flaw.
No, you just go to work and you earn money, you save money, and you have a chance to build for your family. And you know, and instead we have people who are literally just gambling their money away. And the only way that they can feel close to athletics now, it isn't enough to experience the joy of your team winning, because most of the teams are non-competitive. Only a few teams even have a chance to win the championship. And you can see that happening in college basketball. You had upsets in the first round, but when everything gets consolidated down, there they are again, the same schools who are spending all the money. And meanwhile, the gambling money is going up and up and up, and people are losing and losing and losing. And so those people who own the betting companies, they're the ones who are making the billions of dollars. And the word billionaire, which was never really spoken very much, is now becoming, well, who's going to become the first trillionaire? And it's nauseating.
Well, and getting back to Edens very briefly, like I said, he was born a year after me. He began his career at Lehman Brothers when he was like 25. And then By the time he was 32, he was already a partner and a managing director. And he left them and went on to BlackRock, where he remained there until 1997. Then he started Fortress Investment Group. These group of very, very privileged little white boys that got into their little club made all of the Wall Street movie money at that. It was a small group of people. It was Epstein. There's a whole group of them. I don't want to name other names that I do know, but that's where all these people come from. And it's just fabulous, the amount of unawareness that there is in the world out there. I mean, you guys have heard me bang on for years in general terms about billionaires, but I can get really specific, and today I really am. But it needs to be reined in before the world gets fucking blown up. It really does.
Well, in the end, I think if somebody makes a lot of money by being good in their work, I got no problem with that. But when you don't care what you own and you end up purchasing things just on the basis of holding on to them, you're not doing, and you can grab anything you want. You can buy anything you want. There's no love for the business that you're in. There's no love for the people who work for those companies.
Yep.
It's just
you loved
a ghost.
The radio stations that you had. You loved them. You had
I had to.
You had a manageable amount to deal with. You weren't dealing with natural gas in Puerto Rico.
I had to pay attention because that's all I had.
Exactly.
I mean, and you
cared.
But sports fans will come on and chat in the chat room here. They'll be all over the internet and shows that are much more viewed than this one. And they really act like, well, this is what the Cleveland Cavaliers should do right now. This is the guy who should be playing, and this is the guy who shouldn't be playing. And you know something? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter at all.
I mean, it's in the great scheme of things here, there's no, and I'm not going to throw Dan Gilbert into this because Dan Gilbert is spending money on his team. And
neither am I. I'm not going to throw him in there either.
And people who are complaining, well, the Cavs are never going to win. And that maybe they're not going to win. But if you're going to the games and you're entertained enough to be writing enough about it in chat rooms of shows like this, then obviously it's working for you and it's working for the ownership. All right. And the team has a winning record. And if that's what trips your trigger, that's fine. Don't start going on these binge raves and rants about, oh, they're just soft and he's going to lose and they always lose, and start that pathetic bullshit talk. It's like, you're just a spectator. You don't mean it. You don't mean anything. I mean, and you're so desperate to want to be part of it that you're gambling away part of your future to do it. Yeah. Like I said, I had one company at a time. I didn't have a chance to go spreading out. I mean, I had to focus all my attention on that. It would be a wonderful thing if the people who own the Cleveland Browns had to live and die by the decisions they made about the Cleveland Browns. I guarantee you'd have a better football team, Cleveland. Yes, absolutely.
You would absolutely have a better football team.
And that's what's wrong with the system, is that if you as a fan care, you shouldn't, because the ownership doesn't. I'm going to share something else with you now, because the Guardians season is about to begin, and this isn't about the Guardians. Okay. This is about the same thing that we've been talking about. The question is being posed on all the sides. Well, final three positions in the roster, people will make the final roster. There's three openings, and who is the three going to be? And I'm sitting here saying, well, the final bullpen spot is between Colin Holderman, who was signed to a 1-year deal but had a high earned run average in spring training. Colby Allard, a non-roster invitee back in 2025, and Cody Hewer, a non-roster invitee. You're telling me that these are the people for the final bullpen spot, that you can't, a team that's focused on pitching, and that's the final 3 you're down to? And listen to who your bullpen is now, because gone forever. And they don't, and you notice how they don't have to pay Class A, they don't have to pay Ortiz. They already made that determination. The Guardians don't have to pay him. And so the ownership of the Guardians are happy because they hate spending money.
They're like discarded slaves that got old and hurt, They can live off somewhere else.
To me, it's unreal. We've got Cade Smith as the closer. Now, Cade Smith has been good. Now, whether he's good as a closer, time will tell. Sean Armstrong, Eric Sabrowski, the left-hander, Matt Festa. They're going to throw fucking Matt Festa back on the mound. You've got to be kidding me. And he's in the heart of things. Connor Brogdon, never heard of him. Tim Herron, periodically wild as hell. And a Rule 5 pick, Peyton Pallett. Those are the 7 spots in the bullpen. You can't spend less than what the Guardians are spending. But I have news for you. He's going to be gone. The owner is bailing out. Know what he's doing?
What's he doing?
He knows he's out in the next 2 years. He knows he is. And he's just not going to spend the money.
Yeah.
And the guy who's taking over is a billionaire.
Yep.
And he's got the 25% ownership, and he's got that fucking deal going. And he will throw money into it, but he won't care any more than the current owner of the Guardians, because he's not from Cleveland. He could care less whether the team stays in Cleveland, goes, or whatever. And neither does Jimmy Haslam. He doesn't care whether the team stays in Cleveland or goes somewhere else. Just like the Chicago Bears. They're going to play in Indiana now. You heard about that.
Yeah.
I mean, how could the Chicago fucking Bears play in Indiana? This has to stop at some point.
I know.
George Halas's ghost should come and suffocate these people until they're dead.
They're wearing armbands that say GSH on them.
Unbelievable. And just gonna throw it away. Money. That way they can be closer to Gary, Indiana. I have no idea. It's like everything is just money.
Yeah, everybody is disposable to these people. Everyone, players, Class A, Antetokounmpo, the guys in the bullpen of the Cleveland Guardians.
But you can tell, if you remember, when Dick Jacobs bought the Cleveland Indians,
he cared.
Well, here's the deal, though. He did his homework.
Yeah.
And he knew that the team that he was buying was not particularly good, but he also knew that there is talent in the minor leagues. He knew that. But he also was willing to pay the people who he brought up. So the reason you saw Jim Thome play, and you didn't see Jim Thome play under the old ownership, really. The reason all of these things happened was because he was willing to spend the money to bring Joey Bell then and all of those guys from the minor leagues. And he was willing to make trades for Kenny Lofton and do the things that he had to do in Sandy Alomar out of San Diego. He knew that the team would get better, and because he was a businessman and he understood what would make the team better. I see the same thing with the Guardians. If you're a Guardians fan, sit tight. I can't say what the new owner is like, except that he has money. And I see the players, and I'm saying, why did they even bother to hold on to Stephen Kwan? And the answer is because the new owner wants him. The new owner wants Chase DeLauder to play in the big leagues, because everything would point to him not playing, because they always keep their people submerged in the minor leagues
for as long as possible.
They have control over them, and that's because they don't want to spend money, right? Because when time comes, their time is up with the Guardians. They're going to ask for more money, and the Guardians wouldn't give it to them. So now we've got Stephen Kwan, Chase DeLauder, and Angel Martinez, who now all of a sudden are expected to start. Angel Martinez is talented as hell. And he was playing really well last year, and they dropped him down. And then they brought him back up, and he didn't do as well. And they said, see, we told you. But they fuck everything up because they don't want to pay anybody.
Yeah.
But you start to look at then the final outfield utility spot on the team. So you've got Juan DeLauder and Angel Martinez expected to start.
Yeah.
George Valera, the guy who's been in the minor leagues longer, is back on the injured list with a calf injury, and he's been injured his whole minor league career. And now the final bench spot is a battle between Stuart Fairchild, a veteran outfielder on a minor league deal, and a guy who has an upward mobility clause, and CJ Kafis, who's supposed to be the next young star on the team. So, Kafis can play a corner outfield position and first base. If Manzardo doesn't get his act together, Kafis can play first base, okay? Or Kafis can play first base, and Manzardo will just become a DH if they just want the power. The players are there. They're intact. And they're going to get better if they get to play. And I believe that Stuart Fairchild is not going to make the roster, that CJ Kafis will, because the owner knows he's selling. He's getting out of this. It's bye-bye, everybody. And the billionaire's coming in. Now, he ain't going to spend like Cohen is with the New York Mets, because he doesn't even have a fucking legitimate network to show his games. But this is the same thing that Dick Jacobs found out. It's like, God, the ownership was so bad for the Indians back then. It's like you get that new stadium, you get the young players, and it's like they're just tearing it up in single A, double A, and triple A, and you bring these guys up, and man, they were good players. We haven't had good players with the Guardians.
30 years.
No, I mean it's like, and we've watched Jose Ramirez getting older and older. All right. Yeah. And he's the only guy we talk about, and the rest are just nobodies.
Yeah, he's a legitimate Hall of Famer. The thing about that 1995 era team is that if you add up their combined salaries and then adjust it for the rate of inflation over the past 30 years and multiply it, you will find that it will be much higher than whatever any Guardian team has ever been paid. So, that is what you need to know,
A UFC fighter. My thoughts on Chuck Norris. I'm always sad when somebody passes away, and Chuck Norris was a guy who really propelled, the idea, the concept of being and I'm not going to say a kung fu guy. He
martial artist.
Yeah, a martial artist who took his talents onto the big screen and was an iconic figure. I don't know, and nor do I care about what his beliefs were. I don't care about that, but he was 86 years old. I still don't know exactly what he died from, but again, I put him on a pedestal above Steven Seagal.
Well, anyway, the other black collar death victims, Robert Mueller of the famous Steele dossier and the piss tapes, and also Xander from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Can you imagine? The poor kid from Buffy the Vampire Slayer is dead.
Yeah.
So
now,
there we go.
Well, and I will respond to people who don't agree with what I feel. You're so desperate to be part of something and stay relevant.
That's he's
my relevance.
There, you don't give a shit about your relevance, nor do I give a shit about mine.
You know what my relevance was? Pettysburg Address. My relevance was in the broadcast radio industry decades ago.
And you're retired
I haven't been relevant ever since. And as a matter of fact, why don't you go on, because I know what you folks do. Grok, is it true? Why don't you ask Grok who the owner of Moohead Radio is, why don't you go ahead and ask? Go on there and use artificial intelligence and ask
and
them.
Will tell you.
No, it won't.
Yep.
It's wrong. I've done nothing to promote myself.
Correct.
Nothing. Yeah. You don't know who the fuck I am. I'm a cow.
Man.
And so I haven't been relevant in decades. All I'm saying is I have a love of business, and the whole idea of succeeding in business should not be just a matter of sheer inertia. It should be a synaptic skill set that makes you good at what you do. Jimmy Haslam is not good at what he does. The Dolan family is not good at what they do. It's just that simple. So I hope you understand what I'm saying. You're entitled to your opinion, but your opinion is based on a lack of knowledge. So, and yes, I am disappointed. And the thing I don't understand is, what, as far as relevance is concerned and people wanting to be a part of it, I don't understand why people are gambling their money away. Are they desperate to be a part of it that way because they're just so far removed? It only brings them heartburn and heartache that they write about it nonstop. The negativity on social media, is that what's in it for the fans?
Well, the worst bit of it, to my mind, is that there are people that lose money and then they go on social media and attack the athletes that they blame for losing them money when it's their responsibility that they bet, and particularly, like, there's this Emma Raducanu, who's a very young, pretty tennis player from Britain, who I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yep.
People probably aren't, but she was getting so much hate from social media, and she's only like a 22-year-old girl, and she been playing tennis for about 5-6 years, British number one, just because she either would pull out of matches injured or or lose or whatever, and she would get absolutely, death threats and all this shit, which is so out of line. And they did a study. They actually did a study on hate speech to athletes here in this country, football players, tennis players, track stars, all of that. And they found that 80% of it is disgruntled gambling. So it's
too bad.
Problem.
And to make you feel better, if you're a Guardians fan, all right, the Dolan family has retained 75% ownership of the team. And Blitzer, David Blitzer, that's the guy who is the minority owner. All right. He has a pre-priced option to take over as the majority owner around 2027, 2028.
Well, that'll happen.
Right around the corner.
Priced, it'll happen. Assuming there's a planet still around, then it'll happen.
And the other minority investor is Matt Cowlig, the owner of Leaf Filter, is also part of the ownership group and was involved in the Blitzer deal. So they announced Blitzer's addition in 2022 to strengthen financial resources. In other words, they can't run their business. The Dolan family can't compete. And they know they can't compete, so they're just not spending any money, and they're living off the fat of the land. And they're living off the big tit of Major League Baseball, but they're not trying to put out a winning product. But when you start looking at the headlines now, it's like the headlines are different about the Guardians. And so, hey, Hoynesy is talking. Paul Hoynes is writing articles like, no musical outfield chairs for right fielder Chase DeLauter. Guardians takeaways. And it's like, Chase DeLauter is gonna play. Wow. Now, who's telling Hoynesy that?
Hoynesy.
Get this. Here's a headline. And this is crazy. How Travis Bazzana's explosive spring is already threatening Gabriel Arias' job security. I mean, because we're 1 year away from the money coming in, and they're not going to put up with the Gabriel Arias bullshit. They're not going to put up with that. They've got guys who they've invested in the draft, and they look like they're real players, They're going to get to play. What do you know? What a fucking concept. Here's another headline. I mean, and it's all at once now. How Angel Martinez has solidified a spot on the Guardians opening day roster. Well, Jesus Christ, he came in midseason last year and ripped things up.
Yep.
And then they lost sight of him. And he, like most players, who were minor league guys, well, they're not strong enough and they fade at the end of the season. Manzardo was the same way. He got off to a really good start, but he down the stretch last year, Manzardo just fell apart. The wheels came off.
Yeah, they're not playing 162 games ever before. But,
right. And the thing is, Angel Martinez is 24 years old. He's a switch hitter. He's a better hitter from one side of the plate than he is from the other. He's better right-hand hitter than he is the left-hand hitter, but he has more power for the left-hand side than he does the right-hand.
I tell you what, yesterday's game, they played the Cincinnati Reds, and it was a free game on MLB.com. So I actually turned it on at the beginning, and Martinez absolutely roped this home run in the first inning. He fucking smashed this ball. And it turned out the pitcher for the Reds had a blister and had to come out of the game, and they started pounding him. And then I had to turn it off because I can't stand listening to Underwood and Manning for more than like 20 minutes without wanting to vomit. But yeah, so he absolutely roped that ball. And I hope the new ownership sorts out a proper TV package that actually has got professional announcers and and sorts that out, because we've had these, senior citizen idiots for too long announcing games.
But, what will happen with young players, I mean, what Angel Martinez did in the offseason is he put on 15 to 20 pounds of muscle.
Yeah, I didn't recognize him yesterday.
Yeah.
He fucking roped. I mean, it was like, whew.
But, your body has demands. It's like playing in the NBA today. It doesn't matter what you were in college. You got to keep evolving, and you one big place you evolve is in the weight room. I mean, and if you Darius Garland your way into the league from Vanderbilt, and you still look like Darius Garland from Vanderbilt, all the Cavs fans of the world, oh yeah, what do we get rid of him for? And the reason you got rid of him is he just would not. He didn't have the desire to build his body up in a game that is just, I mean, fucking Cade Cunningham is out now. I mean, people who are Brank House, people who are strong as hell are dropping over.
Are getting hurt. Yeah.
31 games missed by Giannis this year. I mean, guys who are beasts. And I know Darius dropped 40 last night. And you know how he drops 40? Dribble, fade away, 380 gets hot. And that's all well and good. But when the playoffs come and they press up against him, they push him back over the half-court line.
Yeah, he can't bring the ball over the half-court line.
Now, do I think that James Harden's the answer? No, I don't think that's the answer either. But, it's
better.
Darius had a chance. What bothers me is when somebody like an Angel Martinez comes up and he shows, man, this guy's got talent, and then they just forget about him so that they can
pay him. Yeah,
they can put David Fry back up, who's had 8 years in the minor leagues. No, I mean it's annoying.
Yeah,
and the Cavaliers have players who. I mean, Schroeder shouldn't be playing. Schroeder is old. He's going to be 33 years old. He turns the ball over, and he's not big. He's not defensive, and he doesn't shoot well. And it's unfortunate that CPJ and Proctor got hurt a la même temps at the same time. And, so he's out there playing big minutes. But all of this stuff about, what we need are some veterans who can do this, and this. Well, Harden is a veteran, and he's failed before in the playoffs. And the team is different when he's on the floor than it was with Darius, because Darius would press the ball, and if he but Darius would go driving into the paint and go, uh-oh, because he didn't have the strength to fight the ball up, and he got beaten around like a rag doll, and he got injured and would miss 25 games every season.
Hit in the eye every fucking year, man.
Yeah, get slapped around. And, so what he became was a guy who would shoot perimeter shots, but he couldn't finish at the rim. And if he tried, he got slaughtered. And playing in Cleveland, he didn't get calls.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing, David, that will be a temporary thing. I mean, it's a funny thing when a team has a team concept and then superstars get back into the mold. The people who have been winning for the Celtics, I mean, I'm not going to take anything away from Brown, but it's the Pritchards and the people in the Hausers. They're getting really incredible mileage.
And all that.
Yeah, people off the bench, they're getting a lot of mileage off that, but it changes the rotation when you get the big guy back. And in the end, the Celtics will be the representative from the East. Yeah. I mean, I don't have any doubt about that. And the thing that's really funny is the hot takes and that I just keep refuting over and over again. It's like, well, the one thing we don't want is to, is to have to be up against the Orlando Magic. And it's like, well, that hot take really cooled real quick. I mean, they're now 5 games behind us.
Correct.
It's not because they've really, they don't shoot well. I don't know why I have to keep repeating myself. The team doesn't shoot well. Yeah. And if you're waiting for Suggs to shoot more than 32% from 3, then you're just wishing for a fucking miracle. You just let that son of a bitch shoot and, just leave him alone and he will fuck up. He'll miss. And if he makes 2 in a row, he'll take 3 heat checks and they'll be nowhere near the basket. So, I want the Cavaliers to stay at number 4, hold on to the number 4 position and play the Pistons first round and give it their all and move on from there.
Yeah, I think we can work with that.
And,
But, yeah, I mean, speaking of the, if you can hold up the Black Cow of Death, I got a little story about him. Now, the Black Cow of Death, what his real function is that years ago, and I'm talking about 20, 15 years ago, corporations would buy that bull-shaped figurine, put their logo on it, and they would also buy a bear-shaped figurine of the same size.
Yep.
And these were Wall Street firms, and they would give out
Bull and Bear
Marcus.
Yep.
Marketing things to their clients, their customers, their trading partners, whatever. And what traders would do is that if they were feeling bullish, they would put the bull on top of their huge CRT monitor. And if they were feeling bearish, they would put the bear on top of their CRT. And that way you wouldn't have to fucking talk to them like what their view is on something. You could see the fucking thing on their monitor and go on with that. So that is the history of the Black Cow of Death. And Mr. Moohead has no bear, but they would have corporate logos, plastered on them normally.
Yeah, and I'm not saying the first round. I mean, we should win the first round against no matter who it is. And if we don't, then you just have a choke team. You're not going anywhere, period. But yeah, if they get the Raptors or whoever they're going to get in the first round, they will win that, or they should win that. But I would rather have a second round matchup against the Pistons than I would the Celtics, because they're not going to cheat for the Pistons as much as they're going to cheat for the Celtics or the Knicks. And the Celtics and Knicks can play one another
and knock themselves off like they did last year.
The Knicks people will go ballistic when they find out that Boston's the team getting the calls. drives the bigger city crazy every time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll close out the show with this. And you just got to.
It's been a serious program. There's been no voices. There's been no Wayne Stack, go fuck yourself. We're talking serious truth here today, people.
And I'm really having a dilemma in my mind. It's like,
how can you talk about trivial sports when you're being so manipulated? We all are being manipulated into throwing money up this great sports Ponzi scheme to these fuckers at the top of the pyramid.
Doing show prep
exactly.
and during the football season, rushing to do halftime and post game shows, and and doing all these things, and they just don't want to win. The ownerships don't want to win. And I'm not saying that about Dan Gilbert. Dan Gilbert wants to win, but it ain't so easy.
He's old school. Yeah, there are owners out there that want to win. But how can you be an owner and have teams in Aston Villa, England? You have teams in fucking Africa. You have teams in Brazil. You have the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, look up Wes Edens on your fucking Wikipedia. See all the stuff he's involved in. It will blow your mind. How can you care about any one particular one with the ability that it needs caring for? And now Jimmy Haslam is distracted by Giannis Antetokounmpo before the draft. Before the draft,
I gotta help you, buddy.
Yeah, before the Browns draft, he's worried about Giannis when he should be worried about the Browns. Maybe it's a good thing that he's not involved in the Browns draft and worried about Giannis. You could make that argument. But do you really want that as a fan of your team, your owner, owning other franchises?
Well, the worst part of it is when the largest viewed media people and internet presences, start this whiny argument kind of crap like we get here. Here's an opinion piece. Browns should buy a lottery ticket on this tantalizing quarterback prospect.
Oh.
Now, you're thinking to yourself, all right, first of all,
what are they gonna say?
Well, no, it's like, so they're going to draft a quarterback and the upcoming draft, and this guy thinks he has some kind of miraculous insight. No, you know what he wants to do?
What does he want to do?
He wants to get Anthony Richardson from the Colts.
My God.
But what he really wants to do is to infuriate fans because, he's got a little pecker. Jimmy Watkins has a small penis, okay? Wow. And it's foolishness, but they can't talk about important things. All they know is, how many hits am I getting? And you know something? For the person who said, whatever they said back there, and I said I haven't been relevant in decades, I don't sit there and I don't look at how many people are following the program, how many subscribers we have on the show. I don't care. I'm not making any money from this. I'm not supporting my family with this. This is fun. This is supposed to be fun. But
and now it can't be fun. We have fun with it. We have funny voices and have funny comedy things go on all the time. But not today.
This is just, all of these things that you're reading here on Cleveland.com, it's just fuel to agitate people.
It's nonsense. Yeah, it all
is. Here's this on a tantalizing quarterback who completed 43% of his passes last year. It's like, just take your little dick and go someplace else because you're not serious about this. I either want to be serious about it or not do this at all.
Correct.
And that's what the dilemma is, because how can you sit here and speak from your heart and say, this is the way I really, from all of my business instincts and everything that I know about business, and I know nothing about the way the NFL is set up, and then you find all this shit out and you say, how do I keep serious about this? How do I keep caring about this? How do I keep watching on Sundays and getting agitated when the head coach calls a play they never practiced for in the fourth quarter on the critical play of the game and loses 4 yards.
His quarterback and puts in the Wildcat on something that's not going to work. I mean, do you still have that ESPN article up on your screen? Because I didn't recognize who wrote it, and I don't know whether it's anybody well known or not.
You mean the one that opened the program?
Yeah, the one that opened the program.
The ESPN. Let me go up to this.
Oh,
this
it's a woman.
Ramona Shelburne was the one who, is credited with the story. Yeah, she's been around, and believe me, this is
because I'm surprised they allowed that to be written the way it was.
Well, I think again, he gone. I mean, it's not like Wes Edens is out the door.
Yeah, it comes across as very critical of Wes and
not Jimmy.
Not Jimmy,
because he's all. What's next? He's what's for dinner.
It's positive for Jimmy, and they say Wes says what a great guy Jimmy is to work with, and what a wonderful bloke to have around in the article.
So you got one guy on Cleveland.com saying, I think maybe we should take a shot at Anthony Richardson. And then, does Andrew Berry need to make another big trade down?
Oh, no.
I mean, anything you can do to try to piss people off. And that's not what we're here for. I want to give people legitimate hope on how the Browns can build a winning team, or how the Guardians can get better, or how and how I support Dan Gilbert. And you can sit there and say, well, Hard was the wrong guy. Well, you couldn't stay with what you had.
Yeah, he's trying. He's trying.
Darius is hurt too often, and a team gave us a good player in exchange for a guy whose foot still is not allowing him to play back-to-back games. And you know how it goes. The season will start next year, and it's a better situation for Darius in Los Angeles because it's an up and down game, but teams aren't pressing full court. It's not as physical a game out west, and the best teams are, but the Thunder are. But if he had to play against the Thunder all the time, he'd be pushed back behind. It would be over and back at the midcourt line because he couldn't escape the double team. So the Clippers got a good player. Darius is a good player, and we got a guy who didn't show up the last game, but showed up sure as hell in the second half of this last game.
Yeah.
And it slows the game tempo down a little bit, but it involves the big man a little bit more, and trying something different. At least they're not doing what the fucking Dolans are doing and just doing the same thing over and over again. You try something different. And right now, Dan Gilbert's in a straitjacket financially. If you don't understand this, he's making deals as best he can to make the team better. But
they're trying to live within the NBA cap rules, like they're a baseball franchise that doesn't have cap rules to live between. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying all these workarounds. And that's the whole thing with the Giannis thing. Like, Damian Lillard, let's preload his contract for 30 years and pay off $5 million a year of it instead of have it all hit in 1 year. It's just crazy.
Yeah. So I'm finished with what I've had to say. And Bronk, I appreciate you helping out. And I appreciate you sending me the story because
I thought you might have seen that already, but it's so rare to see that sort of behind the veil of the Wizard of Oz, the man behind the curtain, the big scary owner. And then you look at it and it's some weasel that hit a home run off of people's misery.
Yeah. It's pathetic. And thanks for the people in the chat room. I appreciate it. And I have my own.
People learned something today. I really do. I hope they learned something.
And here it is, straight out. It's like I have things that I have to decide whether the program will continue to have a serious side to it Or if it's going to be me telling everybody to go fuck themselves.
And I would enjoy that too. I would rather enjoy it being a comedy program, because it's hard to, if you take the stuff seriously, then you have to go down the road that we went down today every now and then just to keep it real.
Yeah, you know? I mean, I can't be this serious and continue doing this. I mean, I really can't. And, you know, so at any rate, thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be back again on Friday. And I'll be in the show. Believe me, I'm Dwayne Stat. Baseball season's beginning, I can't wait to see the empty stands down here in Tampa.
Oh, the great thing is if you go on the MLB.com website, you'll see all the teams listed, but there's no city listed for the Athletics. It just says Athletics.
And they're not really that athletic either.
And then you go onto their website, and you know they're in Sacramento playing in their minor league stadium, and you can still get tickets for opening day, even though it's like 11,000 seat stadium. My high school football stadium, Byers Field, seats 15,000 people. So the Athletics are going to play in the stadium that's smaller than my high school football field was. And they can all go fuck themselves.
Well, we'll be back again on Friday, and I'll be back being silly about things because honestly, you know, you can't handle the truth. You know, it's like that. I mean, the truth is such a downer. My God.
The truth is appalling.
Yeah. So. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll be back Friday. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Enjoy your week. Bye-bye.
Bye.